Welcome back to Making an RPG, everybody. Today, what I wanted to take you guys through was something that I mentioned last episode, but we didn't really get into. It's this right here. This is the events page. Now, events are things that basically happen in the game. You can create people, chests, doors, all this stuff. Anything that you can interact with or anything like that. That's basically what an event is. So, as you can see, you can click around and squares will pop up. If you double click, you get your event window. Hooray! So you can name your event. Like, we could name this chest if this was a treasure chest that we were going to create. And then you can leave notes for yourself as well. Every event like this has an ID number. This is 001, which is really, really important when you're using switches and variables and self-switches and all this kind of stuff. So each event can have different pages. Now we're on page 2, page 3, 1, 2, 3. They all connect, and you can have, I think, as many as you'd like. So for really, really complex events, sometimes you need a bunch of pages. You can copy pages, clear the pages, all this kind of stuff. Over here we've basically got switches and variables. Switches are exactly what they sound like. They are switches. Basically, you create an event in the game, name it, let's call this one chest open, like this. We hit apply, hit OK. Now this event will activate when the switch chest open has been turned on. So basically, if a character opens a chest and we have the switch event to toggle the chest open switch to turn on, then that'll activate this event. It gets a lot more complicated than that. There are many, many layers that you can go through with switches and stuff like that, but they're very, very useful. So you can have 2 switches in each event, which is on each page, I should say, which is really, really great. Variables are the same kind of things as switches, but basically they are, I like to imagine them as invisible objects. So basically, you can have a character find a variable key. So you can come into variables, create one called key, and hit apply. And you can set this here to whatever number you'd like. So in another event, you can create a scenario in which a boss is defeated, and you change the variable after you defeat the boss to +1 key. So that means they have that key now in their inventory, and they can, if this is set to 1 and they have the key, they can then activate this event. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well. I hope I am. Just let me know if you have any questions in the comments, because I'm trying to explain this as best I can. So that's what variables are. They're hidden objects that you don't see in the game. They're background objects is essentially what they are. Then we've got the self switch, which is just like these top switches up here, except you basically just have A, B, C, or D. So you can turn switch A on and then create a new event page, and then have it so that when self switch A is on this page, then self switch A does something else as well. Just like the variables up here that were hidden items, you can actually have actual items. So let's say if a character has a potion, then this event will activate, stuff like that. And the same with actors. You can choose them. Actors are main characters, by the way. I should explain that. Same with actors. Let's say Lucius joins your party, and you have this set to actor Lucius, then this event will activate when he's in your party. Simple as that. Like I said before, these events can be treasure chests and doors, so you can change the image if you go into here. You can scroll down to all your graphics and whatnot, and you can go to switch. It could activate a switch, a gate, monsters, all sorts of things. This is exactly what you would use if you wanted this to be a person. You would go in here, click people, click the little boy, and hit OK, and now boom, this event is now that little boy. That's what this event looks like. Otherwise, the event is just invisible. Then you've got the auto movement. You can have it as a fixed event so that it doesn't move at all. You can make it move at random. You can make it always approach the character, so it will always walk toward the main character. Or you can have your custom route, so you could set it to moving around in circles, moving up and down in a certain pattern and all that kind of stuff. You can also change the speed of which the event moves and the frequency on which it moves. And the frequency is basically how many frames per second it takes for the event to move. So if you set this to low frequency, the event will take a step forward, then wait a second, then take another step forward, but it'll do it really quickly, so it'll look very, very staggered. whereas if you put it at high frequency, it'll look really, really smooth. Over here you've got the options, so if you set this to walking, basically if you use like a character tile, then it will use its walking animation. If you turn on stepping, then it'll use the stepping animation for that event picture. If you use direction fix, it means no matter what direction it's turned in or looking at, it will always stay the same. And if you put through on, it means your character can walk through it or over it. You can turn all these on if you want. It's a mess if you do so. Then you have your priority. There are basically 3 layers, just like sheets of paper. Your characters stand on the middle ground. So you can have this event below the characters, so if you want them to step on it or something like that, then it triggers. You can have it below them. You can have it on the same level, so that they will bump into it. If you wanted them to press a button or activate a switch, you would have it on the same level as them. And then there's above characters, so if you want them to walk underneath something, or you don't want them to be able to touch it at all, you would put it above them, and then it would be out of their reach. And then there's the trigger. Right now it's set to action button, which means the player has to go up to it and press the A button or whatever your action button is. That will trigger this event. Then there's the player touch trigger, which is just like it sounds. You basically, once the player walks over it or runs into it, it will then activate. Then there's event touch, which is basically when another event touches this event will trigger, which is, important and very easy, very fun to use. Then there's auto run, which means as soon as the player enters the map, it will start right away. And this will be the only event that activates. This is an important thing to note. Auto run means it'll activate and that's it. If there's another auto run event going on the map, this one will finish first, then the other one will start. If you set it to parallel process, then all of the events that are set to parallel will activate at the same time. Now that could cause a lot of lag, but at the same time, if you want to have a cutscene start, but you also want the screen to fade in at the same time, you use parallel processing. So that's the event page. That's what you can do in here. But basically, when you come over to contents, this is what is contained within the event page. And not to be extremely daunting or anything, but there's a lot of stuff you can do in the events, and I'm going to try to go through these really quickly. This may be a bit of a longer episode. A lot of these are very straightforward. I'm not going to get too much into them because they are all quite complex. Basically, show text is what it is. You can have text show up. Choices means, yes or no. Do you want to jump down the hole? Yes or no. You can have yes, no, maybe, okay, all sorts of choices. Input number brings up the option to say you need to put in the numbers 3662 and then the gate will open. That lets you have this. Select item basically gives you a variable and an item type, so you set the... Oh my goodness, I don't know what this actually does. I haven't used a lot of these things yet, so ignore this one. I don't know what this one is. Show scrolling text is basically what it sounds like. You can have text show up. Control switches, this is where you activate your switches for events. You can turn them on, turn them off, choose which one you want to turn on and off. Same thing with your variables. This is where you assign, to add in a variable, to take away a variable. Self switches as well, just like I said over here. This is where you can turn them on and off. And the timer is exactly what it sounds like as well. It starts or stops a timer that's in the background. Conditional branches are very complex, but very useful. Basically, you can turn the switch chest open on and hit an else branch is basically what it's called. So now you can come into your event and say if the chest switch on is open, then this happens. If it's not open, then this happens. So that's very, very complex as well, as you can see. Basically, you can start loops so that these events just go over and over again. They loop. You can stop the loop. You can exit the event, which basically stops the event. Common events are just like these events here that we're talking about, but they happen throughout the game, not just in one square of an event. Over here you can change gold, weapons, items, armor, party members. This is where you can increase someone's gold, decrease the gold, give them a weapon, take away an item, introduce a new party member, all that kind of stuff. You can have all that happen. This is where you can give them extra HP, MP, all this kind of stuff. You can change their name, the equipment, anything over here in the actor section, it all has to do with actors, surprisingly enough, which, once again, actors are your main characters. On the second page, it's all grouped together really well. Movement, transfer player, basically you can pick a different map or a different location on a map to send that player to. When you use a door in RPG Maker, it activates a transfer player and it switches to a different map, and it seems like you're going through the door. Pardon me. You can change a vehicle location, so let's say you want to call your boat to you. You can use this, and then you can change the boat to appear wherever you want it to. Same with an event. You can change an event, so if you want that tree to be over here now, you can set the tree up as an event and then change the event location so it moves the tree. Scroll map is exactly what it sounds like. It just pans through the map to show off the map and stuff like that. Set movement route is what you would use if you wanted a character to move around in like a cutscene, basically. So you go into set move route, and then you once again, all these options, you can say player moves down twice and to the right, and you hit OK, and then when this happens, when this is triggered, the main character, the player, will move down and to the right. Get on and off vehicle, that's exactly what it sounds like. Character, you can change transparency, so you can make them 50% transparent if you want to have a ghost. Player followers means the people that are following you, you can change them, add them, minus them, change who's following you. Gather followers, basically in RPGs, when you see you're surrounded by friends and then they all walk on top of you and then they disappear, they're like gathering up, gathering your party. That's exactly what this is. Show animation will do exactly that. Show balloon icon, basically you can have a little heart or like a little light bulb appear over your character. Those are fun. Erase event is just exactly what it says. It'll erase the event at the end. This is where you usually use these. You usually put this in the end of a cutscene to stop the cutscene from happening. Pictures, these are all self-explanatory. Timing, wait, you just click wait, and then you can wait 60 frames, which is 60 frames per second. So you can just wait 60 frames, which will be in-game 1 second of time. The screen fade outs, all this kind of stuff. You can make it rain, you can make it snow, shake the screen, you can have flashes, tints, fade in, fade out. Audio and video is also very, very straightforward. You can play music, play sound effects, all this kind of stuff. Have them stop, have them start. Scene control, this is battle processing. This is where you would start a battle, basically. Shop processing, this is where you can open up a shop. So that when the players activate this event, the shopkeeper will then try to sell them items. Name input is basically this will start the naming of a character, so you can name your main character, whatever you want it to be. Menu screen as well. You can set this in a cutscene. It'll just open the menu automatically. Same for the save screen, the title screen, and the game over screen. This basically just triggers all these to happen. System settings, this is basically where you can change what your characters look like, your background music is, you can, your battle music, your victory sound effects, all this kind of stuff. You can change things that you would normally only be able to change in the settings of your game. Oh my goodness, that voice crack. Map, change map name display. This is once again when you walk into a map and the name shows up, you can change it. So let's say you go into an area and the character doesn't know what it is. And it comes up as 3 question marks or whatever, and then they learn what place they are. You can have it then change to the name of the location instead of the 3 question marks. Change tile set is also very helpful. You can go from a peaceful city to a ruin just by changing the tile set. The battle background you can change as well. So when you go into a battle, the background is maybe a sewer. You can hit change battle back, select a new one, and then it's not a sewer anymore. It's a dungeon or a forest. Parallax as well, the behind the scene image that we talked about in the first episode, you can change that, and you can get your location info. Basically you can say what square is this event on, and it'll tell you. Then there's battle, which means you can change your enemy's HP, MP, all this kind of stuff. You can stop the battle from happening. You can force the battle, which means the player doesn't have a choice, they have to do the battle. The enemy transform, you can change what the enemies look like, you can change which enemies appear, all this kind of stuff. And then the advanced, basically you can add scripts and stuff like that, which are basically lines of coding that make things happen, and the script and the plugin commands are basically the same. So that's a lot to take in, and I totally understand that. And this episode has gone on a little longer than the other ones. But next episode, I'm going to show you some examples of what you can do with an event. I'm just going to show you some simple ones, like how a door works, how a chest works, having a conversation with a player, all this kind of stuff. So we'll play around with it, we'll have a little bit of fun, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching, and once again, if you have any questions, leave them down below, and I will answer them in the future episodes. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.